Getting your shots in focus sounds pretty obvious, pretty straightforward, but depending on the type of photography that you want to capture, it can potentially be fairly tricky. Take a look at these images, for example. How did I manage to get moving subjects in focus? If you're interested in learning how I was able to capture some of these and what I think the best focusing method for street photography is, then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Jorge, welcome. On this channel we merge creativity and productivity to try to live a more fulfilling life. In a previous video we talked about my approach to street photography and my philosophy as well. Manual mode, JPEG only, and back button focusing as well. I've even described the focusing setup in my camera settings videos, and you can watch those right here. But long story short, I use a variation of the back button focusing method, and in my experience it is the best method for people that want to take control of the camera, people that want to take it slow, people that want to focus and think before you shoot. I'll be showing you how it works, how to set it up, and some photograph examples as well. Let's get started. In a nutshell, this method is just a way for you to bypass the camera making decisions for you. As simple as that. It's a means for you to control the camera, your settings, and your focus as well. If you're in control of your camera and your settings, then you can achieve everything that you want to achieve. If you're letting the camera decide for you and make decisions for you, then you will miss a whole bunch of shots. Traditional autofocus is linked to the shutter button. So normally every time you half press the shutter, the camera tries to autofocus, and when you full press the shutter, it takes a shot. And on paper it makes sense, it's a logical programming statement. If in focus, then take the shot. Fair enough. However, most of the time the camera does not know what it's looking at. The camera does not know what you want to achieve. The camera does not understand your vision. It's an object, it's not conscious. So you have to direct it, you have to guide it, you have to point it out and say focus at this, capture that. And don't get me wrong, sometimes autofocus can work really well. It all depends on the camera and the settings and the variables that you adjust. Such as I autofocus on my Sony ZV-1 for example. But with street photography and travel photography and event photography, we want to have control over our settings. Just like Naval Ravikant says on his podcast and book. We want to make our own luck, be a little deterministic about it, and not leave it to chance. I highly recommend you check out Naval's Ravikant podcast, which will be linked in the description down below. I set my AFL button as a back button focus, meaning when I press this button, it focuses on whatever spot I chose, and it will continue to hold focus on that spot until I let go of the button. That way I can compose the frame the way I like it. I can focus on a particular spot, for example, and just wait for subjects to enter the frame. Or I can take multiple shots in a row without having the camera slow down while it tries to autofocus for me or figure out what is it that it wants to do, etc. To my knowledge, this works on most, if not all, Fujifilm cameras. At least it works on my main camera, the X100V, as well as the original X100, and last but not least, the most recently reviewed camera on this channel, the X-Pro1. Alright, let's focus on the X-Pro1 for now. The first thing you have to do is change the focus mode selector to manual mode. Like this. This is the most effective way to separate the focusing system from the shutter button. Next, we need to navigate to the shooting menu, page 4. In there we can set the lock mode. Make sure you set it to on when pressing. What this does is that it requires you to press and hold the AFL button to focus on a particular spot, and it will continue to hold focus on that spot until you let go of the button. And that is ideal, like I mentioned already, to prepare for a shot, to compose, to wait for people to walk into the frame, things like that. Next, we have to assign the function to the actual button. On the X-Pro1, the AFL button is located right above the Q button. So let's set it. Here you can choose to have it as auto exposure lock or auto focus lock. Select AF lock only. Now you can press and hold the AFL button to focus and take as many shots as you want, and once you move and recompose, press it again and you're set. With newer Fuji cameras like the X100V, it's really similar. You may have to take extra steps, like disabling focus check for example. That way the camera takes a shot when you press the button without stopping you and checking if the image is in focus or not. But overall, a very similar process and setup, and this allowed me to capture photographs like these. Everyone is different and everyone has different preferences, and for some types of photography, autofocus is just the way to go, it's just better. Maybe it's just eye detection or animal detection or face detection, you name it. But the point of using AFL is control. To take control of your camera and take control of your settings, to take accountability and to really guide and focus the camera on what you want to capture. And if it's not in focus, it's not the camera's fault, it's yours. Nobody's perfect and we all make mistakes, but I find that shooting this way has taught me quite a bit actually, and it keeps me accountable. I've mentioned in previous videos that we should really try to master the settings and master our camera. Mastering shooting in manual mode and maybe shooting JPEG only and using AFL back button focusing. But the real point of that, of all of those technicalities, is that once we know them, once we control them, we can get past that and really focus on what matters, our craft. Focus on what you're trying to capture, what you want to achieve, what kind of artist you want to become, and to me, that is what matters, nothing else. So that is the best focusing method in my opinion, that is how I shoot, and that is how I set up my Fuji cameras as well. As always, I'm curious to know what do you think. Do you shoot in autofocus only? Do you use the AFL button? Mix and match? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. But that is it for today's video. If you found this video helpful or valuable, please like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and join my free newsletter as well. Thank you very much for watching and for giving me your time and your energy, and good luck with your creative process.